Donald Trump and Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney just had their first conversation, and the call apparently went very well. In fact, surprisingly well, maybe too well. So I'm going to get to Trump's reaction to the call, as well as Mark Carney's reaction, or I should say the Prime Minister's office's reaction to the call as well, and my thoughts on this, and my three theories that may lead us to why Trump is feeling the way he is currently feeling. Noting, of course, that this is how he's feeling right now. Things can happen, he may change his mind in 5 minutes, may change it tomorrow, may change it next week, next month. So Trump is unpredictable. But the way where the relationship between Canada and US is right now is just a complete 180 from where it was when Trudeau was prime minister, at least based on the reaction so far to this initial call. In terms of policy, in terms of tariffs, nothing has really changed yet. But I don't know. I'm feeling a little better right now. The anxiety has lessened a little bit. So I'll get to those two reactions as well as my three theories on all of this. First, let me start with what I think potentially may have set the tone for the conversation today, at least as it applies to one of my theories. So here is Prime Minister Mark Carney speaking on the U.S.-Canada relationship just yesterday.
The old relationship we had with the United States, based on deepening integration of our economies and tight security and military cooperation, is over. What exactly the United States does next is unclear. But what is clear is that we, as Canadians, have agency. We have power. We are masters in our own home. Nous sommes maîtres chez nous. We can control our destiny. We can give ourselves much more than any foreign government, including the United States, can ever take away. We can deal with this crisis best by building our strength right here at home. It will take hard work. It will take steady and focused determination from governments, from businesses, from labor, from Canadians. We will need to dramatically reduce our reliance on the United States. We will need to pivot our trade relationships elsewhere. And we will need to do things previously thought impossible at speeds we haven't seen in generations.
So for obvious reasons, there was a big reaction to that, as this is really the first time we are hearing a Canadian Prime Minister discuss that the relationship with the U.S. is essentially over, at least in terms of what it was. A couple of reactions from a couple of professors here. A journalism professor, Marlo Stern, writing, haven't heard a single well-reasoned argument for why America has torpedoed its relationship with Canada. Justin Wolfers, writing, it seems clear that the U.S. has destroyed something pretty valuable in forcing Canada to look elsewhere for trusted allies, and has simply left asking, to what end? I see no gains to the U.S. from aggravating Canadians. Pointlessly destructive. Absolutely. This gets to the call that happened today. So that, again, that statement from Mark Carney was yesterday. The call just happened this morning. Here is Trump. He was the first to come out with his reaction. So on Truth Social, he wrote, I just finished speaking with Prime Minister Mark Carney of Canada. It was an extremely productive call. We agree on many things and will be meeting immediately after Canada's upcoming election to work on elements of politics, business, and all other factors that will end up being great for both the U.S. And Canada. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So, a few things to note here. There is no governor of Canada, so that line is gone. No 51st state. Treating Carney like he's going to win the election is also noteworthy here, saying we'll speak after the election. This is wild. Now, people say, oh, he didn't write that. Okay, probably not, but he signed off on it. This is his official account. It's not like things go out without him knowing. So he signed off on this, and we'll get to his clip in a second here as well. But a complete 180 in terms of tone, which, if there's going to be any attempt to rebuild this relationship and any bringing down of, or changing course on the tariffs, this is where it's going to have to start, is with some respect publicly to the Prime Minister and to Canada generally. So this is a good start to build on, keeping in mind he may truth something out in 10 minutes that completely refutes all of this. So again, but this is a good sign at least. The Prime Minister of Canada's office, or the PMO, put this out. So today, the Prime Minister Mark Carney spoke with the President of the United States, Donald Trump, and the Prime Minister and the President had a very constructive conversation about the relationship between the two countries. The leaders agreed to begin comprehensive negotiations about a new economic and security relationship immediately following the election. In the interim, the leaders agreed that conversations between the Minister of International Trade and Intergovernmental Affairs and President of the King's Privy Council for Canada, Dominic LeBlanc, and the United States Secretary of Commerce, Howard Lutnick, will intensify to address immediate concerns. The Prime Minister told the President that he would be working hard for the next month to earn the right to represent Canada in those discussions. The Prime Minister informed the President that his government will implement retaliatory tariffs to protect Canadian workers and our economy following the announcement of the additional U.S. trade actions on April 2nd. So, appears to be a constructive call on both ends. Again, no bringing down or no change in terms of policy around the tariffs, but the tone is noteworthy. Stuart Benson of the Hill Times, just to get his title, reporter for the Hill Times, writing here, I have no evidence other than his general vibe and previous experience, but I feel like Trump is really impressed with LeBlanc's title, specifically the President of the King's Privy Council part. That just made me laugh and goes to one of my theories, which I will get to after I share with you Trump's reaction in video form, which also stunned me.
Canada's Prime Minister says that they will be implementing retaliatory tariffs. You said if that were to happen, that you would be responding with large-scale tariffs. Will you be following through with that promise?
Well, absolutely, but we had a very good conversation. Mark called me today at 10 o'clock. We put out a statement. We had a very, very good talk. He's going through an election now, and we'll see what happens, but we have Liberation Day, as you know, on April 2nd, and I'm not referring to Canada, but many countries have taken advantage of us.
All right. This is what stunned me. So he reiterates the good call he had with Carney, but then goes on to say, quote, I'm not referring to Canada, but many countries have taken advantage of us. I'm not referring to Canada. What happened? 3 months, at least 3 months, felt like years of Trump just talking about, oh, Canada's been taking advantage of us. They've gotten off scot-free, and it's time to get them back. And now I'm not speaking of Canada, but other countries are taking advantage of us. Just a complete 180 in the way he's talking about Canada. So I have 3 theories. 2 are serious. 1 is silly, but oddly, because of who Trump is, I think the silliest reason is potentially the most realistic one. So let me first start with the 2 serious ones. Did Carney scare Trump? So the clip I showed you from yesterday from Mark Carney discussing how this is the end of the relationship with the U.S. as we know it, where you have to diversify trading partners and look elsewhere. I think there's a potential there that really stunned, maybe not Trump, because I don't think Trump cares about anything, but at least the people around Trump about, hey, wait, we weren't serious. No, we do want to work with you, Canada. Please come back. So I think there was sort of a worry there because they understand how important Canada is to their economy, for trade. So to hurt the relationship so badly that Canada is in the process of forming other relationships and essentially trying to replace the U.S. is not one that's going to benefit Trump or Americans or their economy. So I think that's a good potential. Another potential is that maybe Trump thinks being kind to Carney will hurt him in the election. So if you've been following the Canadian election at all, you have seen the incredible growth from the Liberal Party since Trudeau announced that he was stepping down for a leadership race, and then Trump coming in and issuing all his threats. Liberals have jumped, skyrocketing, as conservatives with Pierre Poilievre as the leader have dropped, as well as the NDP have lost support, with the Liberals gaining their support. So just a complete shift because, at least partly because of the fact that Pierre Poilievre is ideologically more aligned with Donald Trump. And, he has strategists that are pictured wearing MAGA hats. And he did an interview with Jordan Peterson recently and speaking a lot like Trump in the way his rhetoric is. So Canadians are seeing that right now and are realizing that we don't want this Trump ally to be the Prime Minister of Canada. Not to mention Elon Musk is a big booster of Pierre Poilievre as well. So that has all benefited Carney. Maybe Trump thinks this being nice to Carney now is somehow going to hurt Carney. I don't think that's true at all. In fact, I think if anything, the reaction to this call is going to help Carney. But regardless, that could be a reason if he really wants to help Pierre Poilievre. If he thinks this is going to hurt Carney, then maybe he's going to be nice to Carney for now. I don't know. My last theory, though, is the silliest one and yet the most realistic one. This right here. Mark Carney is not Trudeau. I think there is a good potential that Donald Trump felt emasculated by Justin Trudeau and by images like this that made headlines and CNN covered it and made international news. Like, Trump is just the kind of person that is going to be bothered by something like this. The thin-skinned, feeling like he's not a man. Trudeau's a good-looking guy and feels threatened by him in that way. This could explain a lot because as we've explained, as I've explained many times, as others have explained many times, there has not been a single well-reasoned argument for why the U.S., or in this case, really Trump, has done this to Canada. There's no good reason for it, from his perspective, from any perspective, unless he just feels emasculated and is taking it out on Canada. Now with Carney, who, Carney's not a bad-looking guy, but he's not Justin Trudeau. This could be all it is. Hey, there's another old guy in there, just like me. Everything's fine now. So I don't know. I know it sounds super silly, but at the same time, it doesn't, because it's Donald Trump, and we know how thin-skinned he is. It makes total sense. But again, I don't want to jump to conclusions. This is one reaction to one call. That said, it is a complete 180 from any reaction I've seen to any Trump conversation that he had with Trudeau. So it really is a complete difference there. We will just have to see if this sort of language about Canada, actually calling it a country and calling the Prime Minister, see if all of this continues.